play calling. That's one of the bigger topics of discussion and drama points this season. Even though we're 7-2, like I know we're being very critical of a team that's 7-2 right now, but I mean, calling a screen on 3rd and 10 is a bit pathetic in my opinion. Dumping it off to RJ Harvey on 3rd and 12 is also pathetic. Welcome back to another episode of the Broncos Avenue podcast. I'm your host, Amir Farrell, co-host Evan Petruk. The Denver Broncos have beat the Houston Texans in a stellar defensive showdown, 18-15, to extend their winning streak to 6 straight and are now 7-2 on the season. The Mile High Magic continues in the fourth quarter as the Broncos erase a 15-7 deficit. Evan, how are you feeling after this big win in Houston, getting revenge after the game in 2023?
The defensive battle, I think it was more of a defensive battle more than the offense. Obviously, the offense did struggle, but you're talking the two best defenses in the NFL. I mean, I think that this is what everyone expected to happen. It was going to be, the CJ Stroud injury aside, which is really unfortunate. I thought that play was clean. It's just unfortunate turn of events that happened. So prayers up to CJ Stroud. But I definitely think that Bo missed some throws. I thought the receivers dropped some passes. There's nothing that grinds my gears more than when receivers are dropping passes. So I definitely didn't like that aspect of it. But a couple of misplays by the Texans defense and good stands by the Broncos defense. And I'm feeling really satisfied. They don't ask how, they ask how many. So I definitely think that it's a win in the win column, and that doesn't really matter. You look back at it all you want, it's still a win. So.
Yeah, I'm going to, as most of you regular listeners know, we go through the good and then we go through the bad. Zach Allen had a monster game today. There was the one player I got a bit nervous that he was going to be, obviously when he went down, that looks a little scary. But we've seen that so many times this year where like one player on our defense or offense just goes down and looks scary, mainly the defense, and literally like the next like drive they're in. So just like props to the strength and conditioning staff. It feels like just like 3 years ago, they probably would have been out for the season. But he had an amazing game, man. Had a clutch bat on the ball at the line of scrimmage on one of the last Texans offensive drives. He had, I think, maybe 1 or 2 sacks, something like that. But he had multiple quarterback hits, multiple pressures, 2 sacks, as Evan says. He just had an absolutely disruptive game. Looked like our best defensive player today, honestly.
Yeah, man. It seemed like he might have got hit in the kidney or something like that on that little chip from Woody Mark. So I kind of knew by the way that he was rolling around that at least like after I saw it, I was like, okay, he probably got hit in the kidney or something, like a good old stinger somewhere in there, because he got hit right in the side of his back there. So I'm glad he's okay, because he had a career day today. We don't win that game without him for sure. The whole defense really stepped up. Jonathan Cooper, Nick Bonito, obviously he didn't get all the flashy stats like the sacks and everything, but he was getting pressures in there and stuff like that. So, and Talanoa Funga, man, it sucks that he can't catch the interceptions, but man, he finds himself around the ball all the time, whether it's in the box, whether it's the deep pass, he's all around it. So, and I thought that, considering the best defensive player last season was out for this game against a high-powered receiving core. I thought the defense did a great job holding them to no touchdowns.
Yeah, even though Stroud went down with a concussion, which I want to get your thoughts on how that whole play unfolded. I thought Davis Mills played well. Like, if there's any Texans fans or just any Broncos haters in general, which there seems to be a lot of, mainly specifically Bo Nix, they're going to discredit this, saying that, CJ Stroud being an obvious top 7 quarterback wasn't in the game, helped the Broncos win this one. I mean, dude, we got the best defense, and also Davis Mills just played like a starting quarterback today. The last time we seen him, starting for the Texans, he looked good. Obviously, it wasn't good enough for them to not warrant taking C.J. Stroud in the top 3. Obviously, you can't pass on a quarterback like that. He played good today. So, I don't want anyone to think that this discredits a great win over a very hot AFC opponent. They may have been 3-4 coming into this one, but they have the second best defense in the league. Which, by the way, if there's any Texans fans watching this, huge credit to your defense today. Obviously, we came out on top, but their defense for the first 3 quarters definitely looked better than ours, just in my opinion. Like they were absolutely shut down.
Oh, for sure. Their defense is unbelievable, and I thought their special teams outplayed us. So, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
for most of the game, they beat us on 2 out of the
phases.
three phases. So, I it's hard to win those games, but it just shows resilience from the Broncos, and Bo Nix made plays when he needed to. But yeah, no, that defense is no joke.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, regardless of the CJ Stroud injury. Obviously, I know that hinders the game outcome of the game, maybe in hypotheticals, but the Texans were favored in this game. So when you look at the 3-4 record, it really didn't mean anything because they were on a hot streak. They just beat the 49ers. And I think it's a good win, regardless of who was playing quarterback. I think that it's a big win for the Broncos, especially since the Chargers won. The Chiefs and Bills is going on right now. I'm going to watch that when this pod's done. But yeah, no, it's it's a big win. I think that regardless of what you think of the offense in that game, because it wasn't the best performance, but again, situational. It's the best defense the Broncos could possibly face.
Hmm.
They played and they beat them. So I think it's a huge win for the guys, and we got the Raiders on Thursday to look forward to.
Yeah, such a big win. The way they managed those last 2 minutes of the game was really, really well done. Bo Nix using his legs on those two big scrambles, mainly the big 25-yard run where he runs out of bounds. Dre Greenlaw's hyping him up. I was getting hyped up with him as well there. Man, we got to get him using his legs more, man. He is such a threat when he
Mm-hmm.
takes off running. There was one play, I know a couple people remember, I think it was in the first half where he threw it to Cortland Sutton and it was incomplete, but he could have took a wide open rushing lane and rushed for, I'm talking like 10, 15 yards easily for a first down. But then it ends up stalling. We have to punt for like the 30th time in the first 3 quarters. So yeah, I would like to see him use his legs more. Speaking of Cortland Sutton, that 30-yard touchdown, and I think it was the second quarter. That was a big connection there. Although you did mention some of the drops. Obviously, some of those were Bo Nix trying to do a no look and he was just off target. But when it does hit your hands, you do want to catch those. And it wasn't just Cortland Sutton. Like there was drops from other players. Tyler Bidet, I remember in the first half had a bad drop. So overall, the offense. What are your thoughts overall? Just entirety of the offense, how they play this game? Because another rough one until the fourth quarter.
I know I do love Bo Nix, and I know people are going to be like, oh well, how can you give him credit? But I mean, he got it done when it mattered. I
Hmm.
thought the offensive performance wasn't the best, but again, context matters. Really good defense. I think that there was a lot of plays left on the table by the offense, little mental mistakes. Bo not setting his feet. He did that a lot this game.
Yeah.
Receivers dropping passes. So I definitely think it would have been a more dominant performance if we didn't really beat ourselves in that aspect. But again, it's a great defense. It's really hard to get anything going against them. And I'm really glad that we did in the end there and won the game. And speaking of punts, there was a lot of punts, but Jeremy Crawshaw's really turned it around from that preseason because man, he was really good today. Especially the punt coverage wasn't the best in some aspects, but his punts were always solid, and especially taking advantage of. Not saying that Davis Mills played bad by any means, but he is the backup quarterback for a reason. So getting that good field position off of solid punting is huge in a game like that, in a low scoring game. And he really did that. So shout out to Crawshaw, really turning it around from that horrible preseason.
Yeah. I want to start going to some of the bad from today's game because I usually jot these notes throughout the all 4 quarters, and I had a lot of bad down going into that fourth quarter. The special teams, you touched on it, was just really bad today on multiple plays. Horrible punt return coverage. Michael Bandy's muff punt obviously set the Texans up for scoring position. Quinn Miners looked very bad on that play where Denico Autry blocked the field goal. And there was just many plays. They obviously got it done in the end when it mattered, when the Will Lutz game-winning field goal, his 12th of his career. Shout out to Lutz. But overall, yeah, we just got completely beat in terms of the special teams phase today. They honestly could have single-handedly won today just by special teams alone.
For sure, it shows how important special teams really is, and the special teams is definitely now. I don't want to point fingers because it's guys not executing, but I don't want to point fingers at Darren Rizzi. But this wasn't really the biggest problem last year, so they definitely need to tighten some things up. I understand that Darren Rizzi and Sean Payton are good friends and they go way back, but something's got to give on this. I know not having Marvin Mims is huge. I'm not going to put the muffed punt on Darren Rizzi, but I think the coverage is not only a poor execution thing, but also a scheme thing. I think that they got some stuff that they got to work on in a short week.
Yeah, tackling is it's kind of giving me a little bit of flashbacks to like those Vance Joseph or not Vance Joseph, when Vic Fangio was head coach, I think Tom McMahon, I think his name was, the tackling, how it was. I mean, I hope we don't go back to those days, and I don't think we will, especially under Sean Payton. I think we'll get this all fixed up, but yeah, I'm really missing our old special teams coaches from last year. That's
Yeah, for
definitely
sure.
very apparent. And another thing, I don't know why. Shout out to Michael Bandy. That's a tough one, but like, why are we putting him as like the main returner? You got RJ Harvey, who has already plenty experience there, and I know he's your second string running back. You don't want him to get hurt. But someone's got to return punts, and I just don't want it to be Michael Bandy, who's playing the literal like second or third career game. I mean, the dude's a practice squad player. Like, and then even after that, you kept putting him in, and I get you want to have trust in your guys, and you want to obviously build that confidence in them. But if that were to happen again, dude, could you imagine the outrage that could have been? Like, I don't know. I just personally would have liked a veteran like Trent Sherfield, who was literally a special teamer who has returned kicks in his career. And I believe I'm missing someone else. Tyler Bidet. Tyler Bidet has experience returning kicks. Like I wasn't a big fan of, and even when he did, catch the ball and not elect to do a fair catch, it wasn't like the returns were anything special by any means. I know the coverage wasn't that great, but I don't know. He just looked a little like iffy out there today, a little hesitant.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely missing Mims was huge. It just
Yeah,
shows how important having a good punt returner is. And Mims hasn't been as explosive as he was the last 2 years, where he was a first team All Pro returner. But I definitely think that it's big not having a guy that really, really can set you up and turn the field around on
yeah,
a good punt, because Tommy Townsend was punting it really good. They almost made that play. Tremon Smith made an amazing play, and just, game of inches, guy puts his foot on the goal line, and we got bailed out there. But it just shows you how important stuff like that can be, right? Like that little play makes such a big difference. So, yeah.
shout out Tremont Smith. I'm just thinking about our history together. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the play calling, man. We touched on our last episode, dude. It's like it's still very predictable in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I just like I'm harping on it a little bit too much, maybe. But let us know in the comments what you guys think about the play calling. That's one of the bigger topics of discussion and drama points this season. Even though we're 7-2, like I know we're being very critical of a team that's 7-2 right now, but I mean, calling a screen on 3rd and 10 is a bit pathetic in my opinion. Dumping it off to RJ Harvey on 3rd and 12 is also pathetic. Running the ball only eight times in the first half is absolutely pathetic. 3rd and 1 where Nix takes a deep drop back to hand the ball off to Dobbins when it's the shortest 1 yard I think I've ever seen, with it like being close to inches. Instead, you could have took a easy quarterback sneak. I don't think I've ever seen us do a quarterback sneak on inches or a 1 yard 3rd down and it not work. Like, why are we having Nix drop all the way back 5 yards to give the ball to Dobbins? Dobbins is a great player, but the O-line can only hold up for so long when the defensive line knows a run is coming. So the play calling to me is just it's not enough, man. We could have lost today because of it.
Yeah. The situational play calling was definitely not the best. I thought that a lot of there was a couple plays that there was a screen to Troy Franklin where Adam Troutman just didn't hold his block for a second longer. And if he did, it would be a 20-yard gain to Troy Franklin. So there was a lot of plays where I think it was good situational play calling, but poor execution. And there was a lot of plays where it was both bad. And then some, you don't even get a chance to execute at all because the play call in the situation is predictable or something like that. So I definitely think that, again, it's really hard. D'Amico Ryans is a really, really smart defensive coordinator, and they have a really good defense. So there was a couple times where they were dialing up blitzes for the perfect time, and even early in the game, offensively on our defense, there was a big play to Dalton Schultz. It was just a perfectly called play against the blitz that Denver ran. So it was definitely a big coaching outing. I thought that when the Broncos needed to execute, they did, regardless of the play calling. But I definitely do agree with you. There was some poor situational play calling and situational football that got played in this game. I'm just glad we got the win because it's much easier to learn from your mistakes in a win than a loss.
Yeah, and I touched on it in our last episode. That's the big difference from this 25 Broncos to last year's 24 Broncos is they're finding ways to pull out of these games. They could very easily be 2-7 right now, but they're 7-2 atop the AFC West. We're still ahead of the Chargers. Yeah. They just barely pulled out against the Tennessee Titans.
And I'm not sure, did the Patriots held on against the Falcons?
Yeah, they won 24-23.
Okay, so we're still in third place, but it's like a 3-way tie, but the Colts have the tiebreaker. And I'm not sure what the divisional record difference is. I'm pretty sure the Patriots edge us out because they beat the Bills.
Yeah, yeah, it's so close too. Like we're like literally just a couple games from taking on or topping the Colts for first in the AFC. Like we're guys, I know we're mentioning a lot of bad stuff right now, but we're still very happy. Like 7-2 is 7-2. We're literally probably a top 5 team in the NFL right now. It just feels great. It feels great.
It does.
We're just going on these things that we could be a little bit better on just because a lot of these games are so close. If we were absolutely blowing out teams and looking perfect, I'm not gonna lie, these would probably be like 5-minute episodes, but there is a lot to talk about.
And I will say that as I feel like a lot of Broncos fans, at least the ones that I've been in conversation with, they kind of treat this team like it was the team from 2 years ago, the team from last year, right? Where we're making these same mistakes, but the difference is we're getting away with wins, like you said, and I think that's the most crucial thing. And I think as much as you can knock and get upset with all the play calling and stuff like that, a win is a win at the end of the day. And saying, oh, like the offense play calling was so bad or the execution was so bad or Bo played like crap, it really doesn't matter because Bo played like crap, but we still won. It's a team sport at the end of the day, right? So I think that's like you said, the biggest difference between this team from the other Broncos teams over the last 10 years is the fact that this team just gets it done. So I think that's a big thing, and that you can't really teach that grit.
Yeah, and I hate when people say that we're getting, lucky. I don't think it is that. I think we're working for these things in the fourth quarter. We're earning our wins because we make the extra play. It's not luck. I personally don't believe in luck, but I don't know. I think
it's like I think it's just resilience at the end of the day. Like you try and you don't give up and you keep going, and then sometimes a defender makes a mistake and then you get a first down, right? It's just that little difference. And I think that once that one play goes on, then the momentum, and then some other guy might make a mistake, right? So as long as you just keep going and you don't give up, then you're eventually going to break through, right? So I think that's the difference between this team and past teams is this team just doesn't quit.
Yeah, perfectly explained. Vance, we talked about him a little bit early on. I thought he was running a little too much zone with our corners today. We kind of predicted that on our last episode. You were talking about how you wanted us to play the same amount of man that we were with PS2 active, but now with him inactive, you could kind of tell KAD was dropping a lot, very, very far back when he was covering Nico Collins and Christian Kirk. So I definitely would like to see them, lean more back. That was more in the first half, though. Like, you can't really harp on what was called in the second half. I thought Vance called a great game in the second half, and honestly, in its entirety. That's just one little thing I wanted to touch on. What were your overall thoughts on how Riley Moss and KD played with PS2 gone? I thought Riley Moss looked just great today.
Yeah, no, I think that they did the best they can with the crappy situation that they're in. Like they're missing the best player on the defense. So
Yeah.
at such a crucial position like cornerback, going up against a really, really talented receiver, Nico Collins, and Christian Kirk came back. I thought Christian Kirk looked good today. A lot of their receivers are very talented. So I thought it was a big game from you can harp on CAD for giving Nico Collins the slants and getting those 3rd and 10 first downs, but I mean, he's doing his assignment. Like if Vance Joseph's calling zone coverage because he doesn't want to get beat over the top, because Chris Abrams-Drain, maybe not isn't as good of an athlete as Nico Collins. Not to discredit Chris Abrams-Drain, but Nico Collins is one of the best receivers in the game. So they're
Yeah,
just
he's so
giving him
good.
that respect. So you're going to give him that 1 yard slant all day over giving him a 40-yard touchdown over the top of the defense, right? So it's definitely like a couple of those plays were just like situational. Like the defense they called the perfect play against the defense, and that's at the end of the day, that's the reason why these coaches get paid millions of dollars is to it's like a game of chess, right? So I think that harping on Chris Abrams-Drain for playing off, it's not him playing off because he's scared. It's just the scheme that they're running. So Vance Joseph clearly is doing the best with what he has, and considering the like I said, the best defensive player on his team, who he can rely on to just leave someone on an island and completely take them out of a game, is not playing football right now. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to think that I just think that it's Vance's fault for that. I think sometimes maybe KD wasn't executing that, play in zone as his coach wanted him to. All at the end of the day, we still came away with the win, and I don't think he made any like game changing mistakes. Was
No,
the best,
absolutely not.
yeah, it's the best way I can explain it. Bo Nix's footwork, you touched on it a little bit. I was talking about this in our group chats when we were inactive on the pod earlier in the season. More so like the first couple weeks, his footwork, man. Like sometimes I feel like he just gets a little too scared to take a sack in the pocket, so he escapes clean pockets. And then when he does, and he sees a receiver open downfield, like the one to Pat Bryant, where he's open way deep downfield, he could have set his feet, and that could have been a long touchdown, like 50-plus
Mm-hmm.
yard touchdown. So those are little things I want him to improve on. If he fixes those things in the first half of games, we could be up by a lot more and not having to worry about catching up in the fourth.
Absolutely. I think it's a mental thing. And I think that when guys are saying, oh, Bo's trash, drafting Bo, terrible pick, the things that we're knocking Bo for are things that are mental. Like you can fix that. Like you can't
Yeah.
fix lack of arm strength. You can't fix lack of mobility. You can't fix really the ability to process a different defense clearly, because look at Justin Fields. So Bo Nix can process the defense well. He just has a problem not setting his feet and getting too antsy and doing phantom climbs in the pocket, and escaping clean pockets and stuff. So it's all a mental thing. I think that sometimes when he gets comfortable and he's in his zone, but it takes him a little bit to get there. So he's got to find something that calms him down, that like I don't know if it's like a mental cadence or something he needs to do in his head. I'm not a quarterback coach, so I don't really know, but I'm sure there's something that Davis Webb can, help him out with to really, really get that out of his game, because that's pretty much the biggest flaw with Bo. And you could see it on the interception, and you could see it on that throw that almost got intercepted to Pat Bryant, and a
Yeah.
couple of the errant throws. He just wasn't setting his feet. Now, when you're on the run, because the offensive line, they dial up a good blitz and there's a free rusher coming in, that's a different story. I'm not blaming him on those ones necessarily, but there are ones where, he has time to throw and he's just not setting his feet and he's just missing it. So I think that once he does that, then he's not relying on just pure shoulder strength to throw a ball like 60 yards down the field. So I think he can fix that. I think I've seen him fix it before in games. So I think this Raiders game is going to be another big one, just like the Cowboys one, where he can really, really focus on making sure he's setting his feet and making the right throw and making the right read. And I could definitely see a bounce back, considering that we went from playing the worst defense in football to the best defense in football that we could possibly play. Not include, obviously, you can't play the Broncos defense. So I definitely think that he played solid considering the circumstances. But I mean, there was obviously just mental errors and execution errors from all the guys on the offense. And I'm sure that they will say the same thing in all of their post game interviews.
Yeah, and I want to remind people he's second year quarterback. Let's
Yeah.
not act like he's a 30 he might have the mental maturity of a 30-year-old and the confidence of a 30-year-old, but he's just 25 years old in the second year. There's still
Mhm.
plenty of room for improvement. I don't like people saying that he's already reached his peak and reached his ceiling. Like, he's far from it. He clearly has the athletic talent and the mental capacity to become so much better in this league, potentially be even a top 5 quarterback one day. And he's right there at the cusp of being a top 10 quarterback. So, um, you mentioned the defense we've been going up against. We got a really poor defense this Thursday against the Raiders. I would like Sean Payton, please, I was talking about the play calling, please open it up. Please take the training wheels off Nix. Like, a lot of these running back dump offs that we saw similar to the Russell Wilson and Samaje Perine days, like, we're seeing the same thing with RG Harvey and Bo Nix. Please take the training wheels off a little bit. Even in the Cowboys game, maybe he gave Bo Nix a little bit more freedom, but we still saw a great deal of screens, and they were just working because the Cowboys are running a lot of zone coverage, and they're just really piss poor at tackling and just playing their coverage as well in general. So that's one thing I really, really want to see this Thursday. We'll dive more into that in our preview in the next coming days. But please take the training wheels off Bo Nix. You draft this guy 10th overall, please, or what was it, 12th overall? I can't remember. Yeah, 12th. JJ McCarthy's 10th. Please, like, just let him be Bo Nix. You drafted him because of his arm talent, his mobility. Let him develop into the quarterback that we know Bo Nix wants to be, that we see a lot in the fourth quarter. Can we see that all 4 quarters?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Yeah, I saw him take him off in the Cowboys game, and I expect him to take him off in the Raiders game, especially on prime time. He's going to want to put on a show. And I'm pretty sure it's at home, right? And we're wearing the
Yeah.
throwbacks, or am I wrong?
I think we're wearing the throwbacks, but I literally right before us recording, I was looking at that. We just wore them like against the Cowboys. So I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if we
think we
wear them
are
again.
wearing them, and then we're wearing them on the Christmas game. I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Bet.
I think so. I know we just wore them against the Cowboys. I'm pretty sure we're wearing them again this week. So,
Hoping for the
yeah.
dub on my birthday. Playing the Raiders
Yeah.
on my birthday.
Yeah.
Um, Looking forward a lot to that game. Broncos 7-2. If they can improve to 8-2, that'll be awesome. As usual, let us know your comments down below about this game. If there's any good or bad that we missed from this big close win over the Texans. Once again, I cannot overstate enough how important it is that Bo Nix, Sean Payton, and this defense are coming out with these close wins. I don't want anyone to think, be a Debbie Downer about how we barely won against a Davis Mills-led Texans offense. I still think, like, this is literally like I won't even say the peak for the Broncos. Like, they can get even better when they fix up and clean these things that we're talking about in our negatives. Like, they can be so much better. Real quick, I want to ask you before we end things off, how are you feeling at 7-2? Like, I know it's a little bit early. We're just a little bit past the midway point of the season. Do you think this team can make a push deeper than they made by being a first round exit last year?
Absolutely. If they play to their utmost potential, I've seen plenty of these AFC contenders have flawed games and flawed performances and weaknesses. So I definitely feel great. I mean, what's not to feel great about? We're 7-2. Like, it's amazing, man. It's been so long. We've been waiting for this for so long. It almost doesn't feel real. I'm almost expecting the Broncos to be bad, but they're really good. So I definitely think that I've seen from a lot of the AFC contenders, very beatable teams, and I'm excited for what's to come, man. I can
Yes, sir.
definitely see us winning more than one playoff game. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. That is going to be all for today's episode. I'm your host, Amir Farrell, co-host Evan Petruk. We'll see you guys in our next episode. Peace out, everybody.